The Walt Disney Company has been going through many problems. Their divisions all struggling. Even the cruise lines now, we're getting reports, losing money. How long this can go for this company, who knows? One of the things that people had thought, though, for so long was that the parks were at least impervious to all of this. Everyone wants to take their child to see the castle. Everyone wants to take their kids to see Mickey. And so surely Walt Disney World at least would continue to provide revenue for the Walt Disney Company. But that is decreasing. And now, I'm here with a panel of experts, people who go to the parks very often, to talk about what is happening and why Walt Disney World is in crisis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another intriguing video here on the WDW Pro channel. It is a joy each time you join us. We are here today to talk about a place that I love. Truly, I mean it. I love Walt Disney World. I enjoy going, or at least I did. I think it is one of the most unique places on the planet. And for so many years, for decades, I have been a huge supporter of the parks. I have recommended people go. I have given them strategies and tips for how to get the most fun out of those resorts. But that is becoming much more difficult. Joining me today, I have Culture Casino, Lorena Creole, and Jonas J. Campbell, all to discuss what has happened. Why are the parks down? Why are people not attending at the same levels? And what could the Walt Disney Company do to fix this? And folks, I'm here to tell you, they need to fix this and fix it fast. This is no longer fun. This is no longer funny. We want the Walt Disney Company to continue to exist, and we would like for them to fix their parks before this gets into an emergency. I'd say it's already at the crisis level. So we will go through this. We're going to start with what's working at the parks. We want to start in a positive manner, and then we're going to go through what's not working, and that is growing and growing. As we get ready to talk about this major subject, folks, if you like content like it, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the cute little notification bell. You know you want to click it. Just go ahead. Every time a notification bell rings, well, an angel gets its wings. So here we go. All right, let's talk about what is working at the parks. Lorena, you get to go first on this one. You go to the parks very often. Your channel is all about streaming the parks. What still makes the magic happen at Walt Disney World?
I would say the cast members do. Especially going on the ferry, which is still, I mean, I used to poo-poo it when I was younger and wanted to go on the monorail, but it's just something about riding the ferry, not only the ferry from the Transportation and Ticket Center to the Magic Kingdom, but even taking the Liberty Bell riverboat around, I think it's Rivers of America. You just get such a wonderful sense of the park, just hanging out on that riverboat from Frontierland over to where, the creepy Liberty Square, where you start to see the Haunted Mansion kind of come into view. That's amazing. And the parade that came back, Festival of Fantasy, that blows my mind every time I see it. It is just the entertainment with that. That is one of the things that they are doing right by bringing that particular parade back.
I always wonder when I watch that parade, which is not every time I go for sure, but I always wonder on the Tangled float just how hot, and I mean like temperature-wise, the guys are who are swinging on that parade float. Lorena, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're wearing lumberjack outfits.
Yes.
In Florida, the last time I was at the parade watching, it was like 105 heat index. And I thought, those guys must be drenched in sweat. They must just hose them down once they get past the barbershop.
Because they are outfitted as if they are, in a very cold, medium to very cold temperatures. And yeah, I don't know how they do it.
A lot of stinky people, I would say, once they get across the line.
Oh, yes.
Well, Culture, you're not stinky at all. And tell us what's not stinky at Walt Disney World. What do you still like there?
Really, just the sheer volume of options available with within just a few moments of each other. We were talking backstage about the multiple transportation options. It's interesting that Lorena brought that up, but the fact that, whether by car or by bus, by Skyliner, by monorail, by People Mover, you can move about the park rather freely. And I think that's probably one of the most intriguing aspects, because you enter for your potentially more different worlds just again within 20 minutes of each other, and that's truly amazing, traveling from multiple continents in obviously Animal Kingdom, all the way across to Epcot, where you can enjoy Future World and a variety of entirely different countries. You can check out the Magic Kingdom and visit the castle and all of the worlds that surround it, and then you can make your way over to something dominated by Hollywood, purely and simply in Hollywood Studios. I do absolutely enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that it's just a few moments walk actually between Hollywood Studios and Epcot, if you absolutely need to do it that way. And
that's a very enjoyable pathway too, going through the boardwalk.
It truly is. And then, of course, let's not forget the friendship boats, which can travel, all amongst the various Epcot resorts that are there surrounding Epcot area and Hollywood Studios. So I think that the transportation options is something that's truly enjoyable. And I still believe that the nighttime entertainment is worth your time, even though it's more difficult to secure a good viewing spot. I think the nighttime entertainment at most of the parks is pretty good.
I wish they would bring back the nighttime parade at the Magic Kingdom. That was always a very nice way for the day to end. I remember the times when Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom specifically, would run that parade twice. They would run it at 9 o'clock and then at 11 o'clock, so that they could have it on both sides of the fireworks. And if you took your family to Frontierland as the parade was ending on that second parade, you were essentially there with nobody around you, and the performers would have so much fun, performing just for your kiddos. And so that was really neat. Jonas, you're a fireworks guy here. What do you like about Disney?
As much as I love the parks and I love the family experience of the parks, the thing that the Walt Disney World Resort does better than probably any theme park in the world is the food. The amazing world-class cuisine that they have at these parks, especially, it's probably the only reason that Epcot is still as popular as it is, and why that is considered to be a grown-up park somehow, even though it is a Disney park. You and I were talking about Boma of all restaurants.
Flavors of Africa, one of my favorite restaurants anywhere in the world.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. And the surroundings there, of course, the hotels, especially the premium hotels that you have to pay top dollar to stay at them. But those premium experiences are top notch and wonderful. A few months ago, I would have said the Galactic Star Cruiser, but that's going away and is way too.
You keyed.
Oh, sorry, we're staying on the positive side here.
And folks, I would say, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And I would add that Typhoon Lagoon in particular is excellent value if you don't mind being at a water park. Some people are opposed to going to water parks. They don't like to be in the water with so many different people. But if you don't mind that, I think you can get into Typhoon Lagoon for something like $50 to $60. It's far less than the other parks. And it's very refreshing. The atmosphere is great, looks tropical, lush, and it continues to be a place that is fun. And that has been lost in many of the other things that the Walt Disney World Resort has become. We're going to talk about that now, but I wanted everybody to know that there are things that we still advocate for, that we still say this is worth saving. There are timeless attractions. There are fantastic restaurants. There are great hotels. Typhoon Lagoon is worth it. Disney Springs has its charm, its allure, but the fun has definitely decreased over time. And specifically, we sent That Park Place reporters to Walt Disney World for 3 weeks straight. And then I went and I did some investigating and some work at Disney World for about 1 week. And I have to say that I have come back with some criticisms, some critiques that had never existed before. So I'm just going to start this off. We'll go in no order. It's a free-form discussion, and we'll just chat about all this. I want to start with Epcot. I want to start with the fact that this is a company that decided they were going to revitalize a park that was outdated. And so that was their decision. They made that decision. They went for quite a bit of gusto. They got away from what Epcot was all about. Fine enough. The problem is that now it has been something like 6 years, and the construction walls are still up. The paint on the construction walls is now wearing off. Because of just terrible decision-making, they leveled, one side of Epcot, and we're basically getting nothing to replace it that's worthwhile. And I mean that. So we're getting half a building back that they didn't have to destroy in the first place, and we're getting a walk-through Moana attraction that, just to be totally honest, I don't think it's worthwhile. It's just a walk-through attraction about water. Like, you can go over to the fountains that are jumping over at the Imagination Pavilion and see jumping water. We've done this before. We've been doing it since the 80s. And for Epcot, at least, I'm here to tell you, the park is exceedingly difficult to navigate. It is bereft of attractions now. I mean, I'm going on Living with the Land to find something to do at Epcot. That's where we are, because there is literally the middle of the park is just so difficult to navigate. And here's another thing I'll bring up too while we're talking about Epcot. The Walt Disney World Resort now has you use a phone app for essentially everything. By the way, folks, when it doesn't work, you get to go talk with the Blue Umbrella people, and that is a long line, and you're already frustrated. So that's just a great joy. And nothing else works. Nothing works with your vacation if your phone app is not working, and it's apt to do that. Then on top of that, because you're bouncing from Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi inside Disney World, and because that app is running, it chews through your battery like a beast, and so your phone lasts about half a day. So that's a problem, considering that all your vacation is tied to that battery. Better bring your extra battery packs. And then here's the thing. Here's where I tie this back to Epcot. Epcot had in Innoventions, I believe it was Innoventions East, they had a lounge. And that lounge had tons of connectivity for your phone, so you could recharge it. And air conditioning. And you could escape from storms and inclement weather. Well, they bulldozed that down for no good reason. And now Epcot, like many of the other parks, does not have sufficient places. And I mean almost none when I say insufficient. Almost none. Almost no places to sit and charge your phone. And for the life of me, I cannot understand how in the world it is that we've set up a system where your entire experience depends on your use of that phone, and yet there are no lounges. Like, why, in all this time that we've done this, why is there not a place in every park or multiple places where you can go and sit down in a massage chair? I don't care if you pay $5. I don't care if you pay $10. I don't care if it's free for DVC. I don't care if it's free for annual pass holders. I don't care what the cost is. Why is there no place for you to go sit down in a massage chair and have a cast member bring you a drink while your phone charges? And cap it at 30 minutes or something. But there is nowhere to do this. And everything is tied to your electronic device. Guys, am I crazy, or is this a shared experience?
I think it's more shared than you would believe, and you've left out a few things, including the fact that since there are fewer photographers available and photos are now charged for at every step of the process, you use your phone to take pictures as well, and you use your phone to take video as well. And your phone is, you're 100% right, is never not being utilized. I know Jonas wants to say something, but I think you've even underestimated how much your phone's in use.
Well, you're exactly right. And again, folks, that pulls you onto that little screen that you use every day instead of seeing the beauty that these parks were designed to provide you. Although it needs to also be said that beauty is diminishing because we no longer care about sightlines. In Epcot, you see that beautiful spaceship Earth that's an icon that's known the world over. They call it the golf ball, but who cares? It's still amazing. When you walk under it, you're in awe no matter how many times you've done it. Well, let's put a giant show building, a giant warehouse, and paint it blue next to it. And, that's the Cosmic Rewind show building. And the thing about it, too, is it didn't have to be there. They had all the land in the world to build this roller coaster lower to the ground with a wider, longer building. They had the land. But you know why they didn't do it? Because it was expensive. Do you know why they didn't theme the show building so that it's not just some giant blue warehouse dominating the skyline? Because it was more expensive. That's the problem.
Can I ask you? It's been a while since I've been to Epcot. How visible, let's say from the Tomorrowland Transportation Authority, whatever that is, when you get off the monorails or you get up past the
trams, the TTC, TTC when you get on the monorail and then you get
when
off.
You're looking at the golf ball, when you're looking at Spaceship Earth, is the building, the Rewind building, visible from there?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
You can see it from the parking lot, Jonas.
Oh,
when you are walking from your car to the Epcot main gate, because hey, they're not running trams anymore.
We're gonna talk about that, Lorena. You're exactly right there.
Oh, it is big, it is ugly, it is extremely obtrusive, and you cannot miss it.
They tried.
It didn't have to be that way.
No, it didn't. They tried to use the same blue colors, Jonas, if you're familiar with when they built the third hangar for Soarin'.
Yep.
Yes.
They tried to do the same process there. The problem is that there are many places within that park that just because of where you are standing, not only because the sightlines have been compromised, but because it doesn't match the buildings around it, that it stands out like a sore thumb.
Right. You only have so much go away green that you can paint onto
or
something.
blue, or we use that Florida sky blue or whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
And Soarin' was only visible really from Canada. So I mean it's a problem. But it's a limited problem. Yeah. This thing is visible from everywhere in the park at all times.
Yes.
And so, again, all they had to do was make the footprint bigger and lower the building and lower the coaster, but have more track lower to the ground. And you'd have never seen this. You'd have never known it. It would have made almost no difference to the attraction. It's a launch coaster anyway, so it didn't matter.
I'll add to this. You think about, and I don't know how early we want to bring the concept of a universal vacation into this. But they have roller coasters that are designed as ugly as Rip Ride Rocket or whatever the name of that roller coaster is.
Yeah, it's Rip Ride Rocket. Yep.
Yeah, that is on the sight line, and that is a positive for the park to see what in the world is that thing. I want to ride that. Do you want to ride that thing? That looks terrifying. Or Incredible Hulk.
Whereas, the Hulk coaster.
The Guardians of the Galaxy. Galactic Rewind or whatever, Cosmic Rewind. And forgive me, I'm sorry, they need to get back to shorter names for their rides too. That is a ride that not everyone can do. That it's a vomitorium.
It's Jonas, that was I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, please.
Cosmic Rewind, which is basically Space Mountain with a software upgrade. That is the first attraction that I have gotten off of, and literally I was unsteady, and I rarely get motion sickness.
So Lorena, did you go straight to Mission Space Orange? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I do Mission Space Orange all the time, and
really?
I just thought you might want to finish yourself off. You get off of
because Mission Space Guardians will take me out.
Oh yeah, with Mission Space.
Okay,
like,
so let's talk about that though.
Go home.
Lorena, okay, everybody, this is crazy too, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong. So they build Cosmic Rewind, and this goes to the heart of just terrible modern planning for the Disney parks. So they build Cosmic Rewind. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Cosmic Rewind. It causes nausea in some people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They've got Mission Space. It's fairly adjacent because Wonders of Life, we don't know what the heck they're ever going to do with it. The landscaping now suggests they don't either. But they've got that. They build this, well, they completely redo the inside of Interventions now so that it's connections, right, and creations.
Did they take away the Sega Channel stations? Did they do that?
Yes.
Yes, Jonas, you can't preview the Dreamcast anymore.
Oh, sorry. I haven't been since 1990, so I'm just joking.
So then, okay, so you've got all that space, right, and you've got these thrill rides. They added no new restrooms at all. Anywhere near these rides, you have to go to the restaurant to go to the restroom from the thrill rides.
From the
that
rides
is insane.
That induce intense nausea in typical
when they built
people.
Rock and Roller Coaster, when you exit the ride, there's restrooms immediately there because they knew. They were like, okay, well, this is a roller coaster that sends you into 3 inversions. Let's put a restroom here. And like, who in their right mind builds all this stuff for Epcot and doesn't go, hey, I think we need a potty?
It's also amusing because they do the same thing outside of Space Mountain as well. I mean, like you're bringing up two examples of attractions that lack severely in location to restrooms. But look, to me, it's even more offensive because they've abandoned the idea of how these particular aspects of these parks were specifically themed. They've
destroyed their identities.
Yeah, exactly. So because they created something called a neighborhood. What, we're going to go into 15-minute cities, and I don't want to get off.
That whole thing's garbage culture. They got away from that. They didn't have the money to do it, and so now it's just a giant hodgepodge of mess.
Yeah.
None of it makes any sense.
I would say that constant construction does remind me of a neighborhood, of a city block.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonas. No, but that's not really what they were going for there. But regardless, abandoning the third iteration of Project Gamma, which is where I think we're at. But I mean, because we're now on like version 3 or whatnot. But putting Cosmic Rewind,
we're in version worse than when we began. That's what we're at.
True. But putting Cosmic Rewind where they did in Future World, in what way is that in any way aligned with anything else that's there? Do you get any educational benefit or any sense of future out of that attraction? And again,
Zero. Not to interrupt your culture, but yeah, the first time I went on that attraction, that is the biggest critique I had about it. There's nothing edutainment wise about it that contributes to the Epcot vision.
Yeah. And again, I know that purposefully, specifically under Chapek's public statements, they were trying to, get rid of that concept, right? And the biggest problem is they still have like attractions that are linked to the future and education, and but the problem is, and we've talked about this amongst ourselves before, they are no longer creative enough to imagine a future.
That's right. They don't. They're terrified of the future. This is a diametrically opposed theme park to everything they believe in. They think we're all going to die in the next decade. So
now, to be fair, they're not big fans of the past either.
I hate it all, baby.
But that gets back to the timeless nature. See, this is the biggest problem, right? I mean, when you walk into the parks, even in 1955, when you first walked into Disneyland, not necessarily Disney World, but Disneyland, you were stepping back in time to the turn of the century, the past, because you were walking onto Main Street.
Right, Walt's childhood.
Right, Missouri, right.
Yeah, Marceline. And when you look down Main Street, towards this fantastical fantasy in front of you, this castle, or as Walt called it, the weenie, and every park needs one. And that's not a dirty thing, folks. That's what he called them.
Because he likes hot dogs.
Perhaps. But ultimately, you had already stepped into the past, into a timeless past, into something that everybody can recognize of being of its time and appreciate it at every single level, even to this very day. But at this point in time, Disney is more than willing to abandon anything in the past, as Jonas already suggested. Will you look at what they're trying to do to Frontierland? Look at what they've done to the history of pirates.
Okay, so we can't skip over that, though, culture. They're destroying the most popular, they've destroyed it, the most popular attraction in the world.
Yes.
We've seen polling on this. Splash Mountain, literally the most popular attraction on planet Earth, period. And they destroyed it. And they're putting in some sort of socialist employee-owned Tabasco plant flume ride. That's what they're doing. Culture, continue. As we critique Disney, you have to step back for a moment because it boggles the mind that you could just list these things off, rattle these things off, and inside of them is, what he's talking about is they destroyed the biggest attraction in the world. That was one of those things that he was listing off. So,
and like I said, they've already done it with Pirates in the same area, of course, slightly different. You have Adventureland, but those two lands represented a period of time and an element of history. And as whimsical and fantastical as the pirates are there, that was done to juxtapose the violence at the same time. And you get a whimsical song that goes on with the heinousness that the pirates, they wreaked havoc on that particular area of the Caribbean. So, pasting it over with modern day sensibilities isn't Ooh, gosh, responsible would probably be the right word. Same thing with, Splash Mountain and all of the aspects of Song of the South, which Lorena Creole has been on record multiple times talking very positively of because she's heard these tales from her family members.
I'm not sure that we've talked about this on the stream, but we did have word from a contact in Imagineering, an Imagineer that everyone would have heard of in their visit to Tokyo Disneyland. And they had someone with them who had never experienced Splash Mountain in its proper form, because in Tokyo Disneyland, they maintain their parks. So this person,
gosh, what are you talking about?
Had assumed that assumed that all the figures that they were seeing in Disneyland and in Disney World stateside were statues. No, they're fully functioning animatronics in Tokyo Disneyland. So the only existing, even let's jump back a year, the only fully existing version of that ride is in Tokyo.
Yes. I have to say this, and Culture and I have said this on Welcome to Florida. Eventually, it's going to be to the point where the Disney World or Disneyland that we grew up with and that we so love, we're going to have to go to Japan to see it.
Yeah.
Because at least there, they have a respect for the past.
The only resort that's not run by Disney.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Oriental Land Company does such a great job with both of those parks that you would be hard pressed to remember Disneyland any better than how it's represented in Japan. It's amazing to me. It truly is.
Let's get back to Epcot for a moment because there's more to talk about there, and then we'll hit the other parks.
Yeah.
So one of my experiences here was that I got on Spaceship Earth. Okay.
Oh boy.
I get on Spaceship Earth. Heat index somewhere around 107 degrees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about Spaceship Earth is, of course, the air conditioning.
It's amazing.
So I'm thinking that I'm about to get some sweet, sweet relief.
Mm-hmm.
We get onto Spaceship Earth. The AC is apparently not working at optimal levels. So it is about 80 to 82 degrees in there. With the air not moving.
Oh.
Yes. This is another example of just shoddy maintenance, things not working. And I swear there are some buildings that the AC on this last trip, they were just, it was as always. But I'm telling you, there were many buildings where I was like, you know what? I think they've cranked the thermostat up to about 78, 79, like they're trying to save money or something. I don't know. Maybe they have an energy issue.
It's the spirit,
I don't know. But something's
the spirit
happened.
of Roy Disney coming back to save a few pennies.
Well, it was hot in the Seas with Nemo.
Oh,
it was hot in there.
Ooh.
It's like, my gosh, where can you get relief?
There's nothing like reclining backwards on Spaceship Earth while sweaty and looking at that ugly iPad.
Isn't that rough? And it's funny because we were talking behind the scenes, but they're having difficulties with some of their energy plants, and it sounds like they're also having issues with their primary chillers and locations. So I have a feeling that the park maintenance is now broad spectrum rather than focused on a few attractions and items here and there.
Thank goodness they cleared 1,200 acres of carbon capturing trees and put solar panels down that they could have put over the parking lot, which would have cooled the cars and which would have captured the same energy. But thank goodness they cleared all those trees and that habitat for wildlife.
Look, and again, a lot of us know about a lot of the things that should have been done that were not.
It's a lot.
That would have helped remedy a lot of those issues. But the problem is that I can go park by park, and this is bad. I can go park by park and break down to you at the various points that the things started to fall apart. We've now had characters invade from other parts of Disney. I don't know, memorabilia, fandom, whatever you want to call it, into Epcot. You had a primary IP that was created specifically for Epcot, and then you had a secondary one. Your primary was this beautiful little teddy bear that caught on very well in Japan, named Duffy.
Duffy.
Yeah. And then you had, Yeah, and you know what? I got a Duffy, well, actually not mine. It's the boss's, but there's a Duffy here in the house, along with a bunch of outfits, right? And then you have. By the way, those outfits. People bought those things like crazy. So why you stop leaning into that, I don't know. But then we'll move over to
talk about my favorite little mascot,
Imagination, and you have Figment and Dreamfinder, who showed up and just won everybody's hearts, right?
Now
and
his dream can't find him.
Yeah, you can't find Dreamfinder except at special events, and you Figment has been like created into or downgraded to a caricature. I mean, the attraction for Journey into Imagination was, I'm going to use the word properly, decimated.
Well, when was it decimated, Culture? When was it decimated?
Gosh, wow, I can't even put a year on it. It
was the 90s. I think
90s,
it's like 97, 98. So guess what? That's how long Disney lets these attractions sit in a state of squalor. That's the problem.
That's a quarter century ago. And and by some reports that we're hearing out of Imagineering, that was done spitefully to spite a previous Imagineer who
we haven't talked about that publicly, have we?
We probably shouldn't until we're able to break it completely down. But I will say that
we may talk about that in the future sometime.
Even their remedy to the backlash from those of us who truly enjoyed the original iteration of the attraction, which was literally all about imagination in so many different ways that you can't even imagine. If you would like to see that, Martin's Vid still has a retrospective video up on his channel that will blow your mind. And you'll be like, wow, I wish I had gone on that. Well, I did. And so by the time we got around to the second iteration of this disaster, I was like, this is not better. Because we're on plan 3 and it's terrible.
On plan 3, they said, hold my beer. Watch what I can do.
It's just so, and just agree with Culture. Journey into Imagination was one of my favorite attractions to ride with Figment and the Dreamfinder. And you just had just this sense of awe and everything. You just felt good getting off of that. Then when they drop Figment in there, it's like a gimmick. And I swear they did it, I guess, just to promote Flubber and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And
we've been
whatever
stuck
that
with
third
Flubber
one was,
promotions for a quarter century.
Oh,
it was because Dreamfinder and Figment worked well in that world, because Dreamfinder is trying to walk Figment through this wonderful journey of imagination. And by the second and third iteration of Figment, you just pointed out, is somewhat derivative of other things. And again, I told you what those primary IPs were that were developed specifically within that park by brilliant Imagineers who did great work. And then you start bringing stuff into the park. You get the seas. Instead of the living seas, you now have the seas with Nemo and friends, rather than like this wonderful ocean journey where you went down a hydrolator. Talk about using your imagination to explore this wonderful sea base. You were being introduced to this concept of that.
Sea Base Alpha. Which
fed into Horizons, which they eliminated for a very false reason. I'll talk about whether or not the building was sinking.
Those sinkholes, Culture.
No, it was not. But that ride was incredibly long, and it was the best people eater ride they'd ever developed. Horizons was incredible, and guess what? It featured Sea Base Alpha, and all of these attractions somehow, if you paid attention, fed into each other. Because you know that thing now, that little car ride that they have, Test Track.
I've heard of it.
Do you remember World of Motion?
Yes, I do.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that somehow fed into Horizons as well. And as you went around this park, you would find that in a lot of ways, very many ways, a lot of these attractions would be visited on each other. You would be able to see elements from one attraction in another. And that fed over into a lot of other places. But what I noticed going back into the early 90s is they abandoned the idea of imagination. Now, they still thought there might be a future, which, I would agree. Let's hope there is one. But they looked at imagination almost with disdain. And so every one of the attractions that had a post-show, and you guys all know what I'm referring to, whether it be Spaceship Earth or anything like, imagination.
Almost all the post shows now are just
Yeah.
lackluster and
they're breaking. They're
deeply
broken.
outdated. Yeah.
They don't work. And so there was a lot of very creative ways to interact with like whatever the latest technology was in a way that serviced the message of the ride, whatever that was. That's all gone. And instead, what has happened, and I'll get back to this and then shut up because I've been talking for a long time. You have all these IP attractions. So now instead of having this beautiful Norway experience, right, which give you it's a little bit of fun. It was a little kooky, right? The attraction I'm referring to is Maelstrom, which is now frozen.
The troll was awesome.
Introduced you to this really cool troll, right? And some other really neat things about that.
Disappear.
That's right. And then and then you had and then you had obviously a few other things that have been replaced. And I believe, and despite the fact that I think the attraction's okay, I still think if you were going to expand France, that wasn't the way to go about it with Ratatouille. Again, it's an IP invading that. You could have expanded upon Impressions de France. And other things like that. And I want to know where my Japanese bullet train is. I want
they still have they've never put a ride into Japan. The Japan Pavilion has space for it, apparently.
They use that monstrous show building. That building, have you been in there, Pro? It's massive.
Yes.
They use that huge show building as warehouse space.
Yep. And that's, they're using the Wonders of Life Pavilion for absolutely nothing now. And
if
the Odyssey is largely not used, and you have the special pavilion behind World Showcase that used to be used at one point for special events. Now it's largely used for restrooms. So
and occasionally the food events.
If only
every
Disney had some large Japanese themed IP that was targeted at children, maybe with robots and superheroes.
Jonas, they'll only, if they use Baymax, it will only be for restrooms, and it will only be an uncomfortable experience for all of us.
There's a video on my channel for anyone who would like to know what that was referencing. We probably don't want to go there with
so Lorena, we've been talking about Epcot. Magic Kingdom has its own issues, and we could keep going and going. And all of this, I think, stems from someone not having vision for these parks, period. There's nobody who's safeguarding them and helping guide them to have what would I consider logical steps, that make them into a positive experience. They're just downgraded over and over and over, even despite the fact that people are working to make them better. It's just, they're not good at it at all. So, Lorena, you've been watching crowd levels diminish. Talk to us about your experience watching this year specifically. How is it different than other years?
In other years, especially in the summer, the parks have been crowded. Granted, when I moved to Florida, I moved here like right when the COVID restrictions were starting to lift. Universal went mask-free first, and then eventually Disney World followed suit. It was like things were back to normal. There were crowds, there, despite requiring reservations, lots of people, and things seem to be back to normal. Christmas was crowded, spring break was crowded, and all of that in between 2021 and 2022. 2023, I'm seeing much less traffic. Now, take out Magic Kingdom on Mondays. Everybody knows Magic Kingdom on a Monday is always fripping crowded, and it's the smallest park, so it's going to be crowded or seem that way. But for, say, Epcot or
the other parks are
Hollywood
empty.
Studios, they are basically empty. In my last live stream, just this past Saturday, my viewers were asking, where are all the people? This was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it looks like a ghost town. And
Here's what I can't figure out, Lorena. What I can't figure out is, I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I can't figure out how they're going to keep doing this without cutting cast member positions. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I don't see how this is sustainable long term, because you can't have the number of employees they have set up to handle typical summer crowds. And according to someone I've got in Team Disney, they say that the actual wait times for rides this summer compared to 2019 summers is like 1/3. That you can't employ people at that level for very long.
No, you really can't, and that is a concern because Disney World, unlike Disneyland, it does not have its economy based on locals. It just doesn't. So while there's locals in the area that'll show up on the weekends, overall the crowd levels are just too low. I've seen discounts like crazy in the gifts, in the retail locations, which is something I've hardly ever, ever seen. And speaking of wait times, and I did this live on my live stream, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. The posted wait 40 minutes. Someone asked a cast member, they're like, yes, it's 40 minutes. Yes, that's what it is. I said on my stream, I said, wait, I'm guessing it's only going to take me 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. Let's see what happens. I got on that attraction in 22 minutes flat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, okay, so here's one of the issues there, and we're not alleging anything, but it's in Disney's best interest to have those wait times look longer than they are. And the reason for that is because if those wait times shrink dramatically, and apparently, they doubled the time on Mickey's Runaway Railway.
Mm-hmm.
If those wait times are low, that's publicly available, and anybody on the web anywhere can see that minute to minute. And that's being tracked. We know there are websites out there that track it. We really love some of those websites and are friends with the owners. But that is a major giveaway to people who are, wondering what's going on with the parks if they begin to see those low numbers. So I'm not saying that Disney is intentionally altering those wait times, but
right. Well, here's the funny thing. Sorry. If the wait times are low, there's part of me that says, okay, well, now is the time to go to the parks because you would have it all to yourself.
Well, if the rides,
but
it
also sounds like the park is in the worst state it's been in a very long time.
I described it as misery.
Yeah,
I described it as misery.
It really is. When I remember, I couldn't even remember when getting to the TTC, you would go straight to the monorail. They were always working. Now, when I go to the Magic Kingdom, I don't even take the monorail because so many times the monorail is not working. This is like rope drop in the morning. Monorails aren't running, so I have to take the ferry. Yeah. Why is
Miranda,
it
they wouldn't let me on the monorail because the doors wouldn't open on half the vehicles. Half the vehicles in the monorail, the doors wouldn't open.
My goodness.
They're in disrepair. The monorails have been for a while, but they actually exacerbated the problem because they tried to automate everything for them to make it so that the pilots were superfluous, kind of like Ken in the Barbie film. But they absolutely screwed things up even worse through those efforts. And now you have a maintenance nightmare with train units that should have been replaced over a decade
20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago, those things need to be replaced.
I mean, yes. I mean, but their usable life obviously could be extended through refurbishment, but they should have been replaced. You're not wrong, Pro. And to add to the attraction thing real quick, because I don't want this to get out of my brain and I had to write it down. But Disney, because of the efforts of things that I always decry, like the Next Gen program that cost them $1 billion more than they wanted to spend on it. You now they have the ability to create artificial scarcity and to limit the total number of cast members that are working on any given day. They literally can operate attractions at 50%, to try to artificially create that scarcity and much worse. Yep. I mean, if you go around those, Jonas talked about something that I used to agree with, which is you have world-class restaurants that you can feast in regularly. They don't exist because half of them aren't open. Ask Lorena, when you walk through Magic Kingdom, how many restaurants are open?
Not hardly any.
Yeah.
Wow. Tomorrowland Terrace is only used now for special events and dessert parties. Yeah. But Lorena, I want to go back to you for a moment.
Sorry, yeah.
One of the worst things that I think has happened to the parks, and this really is atrocious to me, is the system for entry. It's the worst of airport experiences all combined together. So let me walk through this, and then you tell me what you think about it. So when you arrive at the Magic Kingdom parking lot, first of all, you're in luck because it's the one park that has trams running. So when it's 108 degrees on top of the asphalt, you know, the grandmothers may be passed out in Epcot and Animal Kingdom. God help them if they're parked in Giraffe or Dinosaur. But, you know, Magic Kingdom, thank goodness they've got the tram so they can get on the tram. Then they go to the TTC where they have to go through security. Now, here's my issue with this. The line for security at the normal hours that people arrive at the parks, it can stretch for half a mile. No joke. However, if you have money, if you're affluent, and you're staying at one of the monorail hotels, you get to go through security there, which means that 80% to 90% of the people who are going to Magic Kingdom, the plebes, they go through a half mile of security where if they have a stroller or bags, they go through every square inch of it. They randomly pull people to wand them. It's very intrusive. But if you're part of the 10%, that top 10%, well, you get to go through just, you know, an individualized security screening, and takes no time from you, and you get in the park much sooner, much easier. It's a more pleasant experience. Lorena, what have you noticed with security in terms of how hard it is to get in the parks and just what a hassle it is?
It is, to put it bluntly, a pain in the ass. First of all, I mean, again, with the Magic Kingdom, it's in the morning, the security line is always long, and it's not really all that efficient because you have to go through these, detectors or whatever it is. Unlike Universal, where, you put your stuff on in a crate and it goes through, like at the TSA
Yep.
or whatever, much more efficient. I have never seen Universal's lines stretch out that long, and they've got like multiple stations like that. So you have these long lines. And on top of that, with your bag can either set the thing off, or not set it off. But still, it's like there's no rhyme or reason to it. I'll have the same stuff packed in my bag. Some days I can go through. Some days they'll send me off, off to the side. So you get into another line. They do not explain, and they need to do this before someone starts fighting or whatever, that they take you at that secondary screening based on the picture order that you come through. And then
okay, well, I don't understand that one. That's new to me. So explain that.
Oh, okay. So how they explained it? Because I gave one of the cast members probably a really, really nasty, maleficent look because
I gave a few of them that this time as well.
Behind me to do the secondary search with them, and I'm looking like, are you kidding me? You just took this person or whatever. And they said, well, we have to go by based on the pictures that come up. So whatever secondary security person, they're looking at the monitor, whoever's on that monitor, that's the person that they're going to take, instead of the logical first in, first out kind of thing. So you have that problem. Plus you have families who aren't packing to get efficiently through security. That's why I say pack all your stuff in a big, huge Ziploc bag so they can, get through there faster. Yep. So you have that going on. Magic Kingdom is probably the most popular park, but security lines are just crazy long for no reason.
So Lorena, let's walk through the experience. You're paying $150 to get into Magic Kingdom. That's just to get through the gates before you pay for your food, before you pay for your little Mickey ears and all that stuff. All right, so $150 for this experience. Here's the experience. You park in the parking lot. You wait in line to get on the tram. You get on the tram. You wait in line to go through security. You get through security. You wait in line to get on the ferry or the monorail. You get on the ferry or the monorail. You get off. You get in line to go through to get your ticket or your Magic Band scanned through so that you can go through the turnstiles. That's 4 times that you have to get into a line and wait. We're talking, this is going to take you an hour, hour and a half, this process, just to get into the park. It is insane. It is a logistical nightmare. Jonas, let me go to you. You have been to Universal Studios. You loved it. It's great.
Absolutely.
How does this compare to the nightmare that has become the Walt Disney World Resort and just terrible decision-making thousands and thousands of bad decisions by management at Disney. How does Universal compare?
We could barely keep up with the security. They were pulling us through the line to get into the metal detector. They did go through our stuff.
Well, that's because they identified you as a threat. But that's
that's the other thing. Security people
Were
see
you
me and they're like, "You're
Slytherin?
fine."
Because I always get hassled when I'm wearing my Slytherin gear.
The only hassle I got that trip is when we went to Disney Springs and I was wearing a Hogwarts shirt as I came through. He was joking, but I was not in the mood for it. So I played it off like I was laughing, but I was like, seriously, you're going to do this to me right now? I got a kid in a stroller who's so angry at me at the moment. Whatever. That's not his fault. He was fun. He was trying to tell a joke, but, no, Universal, it was, I mean, we were sprinting through those gates. And then, of course, once you get through security, you're there at City Walk as opposed to getting into the park. So that's security for everybody, regardless of how you're getting into those parks. And Lions, not bad. Had a little bit of the issue trying to figure, okay, this kid, this finger on the thing, you know, we were there and having a good time and drinking all that unlimited soda because we paid for the souvenir cups. Security was not a problem. And driving into the parking area, I couldn't tell you which one was the good one, which one was the bad one, because it all just kind of came out the same. Wasn't a slow day in any of those parks either when we went. So I hate to say it, we had a fantastic time at Universal. It was, as I have been saying, the Disney of the 90s is alive and well at Universal Studios.
Agreed.
And it's a shame that they've done this to Disney. It doesn't have to be this way. It's easy to fix, but they have stripped the parks of so much of the fun. You know, now it's a giant hassle to get in. You go through tons and tons of lines and security. Many times the attractions are not working. The experience is all run through your phone and reservations and all of this, yada, yada.
Can I add also to that? At Universal Studios, the only reason we used our phones was for mobile ordering and for looking at wait times. And the rest of the time we were looking up at this park. And I got to say, Universal Studios, the original Universal Studios park, is not as fun to look at as the Disney parks. They don't have the same ambiance there. They've got a great little park, but it's not Magic Kingdom. That being said, at Magic Kingdom, you've got your face in your phone. And guess what I see when I'm on my phone? I get all the texts from people who don't know I'm at Magic Kingdom. I get the phone calls and the Twitter notifications and all that. If I'm in my right mind, I am leaving that thing in my pocket and enjoying what is going on. But Disney has forced me onto this tiny little worry stone while I'm trying to go through this fantastically designed park. Universal, we had so much fun. We ran into walk-around characters just going around. You can't do that at Disney anymore. Well, it's appointment. It's by appointment. They don't walk them around at Disney anymore. And we ran into them more than we had to pull. We had to say, no, don't wait for this one. Over here are all those DreamWorks characters that you now love. Go look over there. There's Shrek. There's Puss in Boots, which, by the way, they watched The Last Wish 7 times in the car on the way down there.
How many Minions did you bump into?
We didn't actually see any Minions now that I think about it, but we did spend time in that Minions.
They were in trouble with Gru that day.
Oh, that was I think that was before they had the Illumination Studio, because they did used to have the Minion meet and greets, but they went away when they were redoing when they were constructing Minion Blast. So now the Illuminations quote unquote theater, which is right around the corner from Bake My Day, and I actually have a short of this, that's where they do the Minion meet and greet, and the kids love it because the Minions, their eyes will move to the beat of the music. I put that down as a short of like, look at how their eyes move, and the kids just absolutely love it. But Jonas, you're right, it's like they have the DreamWorks characters out there. They had my favorite troll, Guy Diamond, the glitter troll, the one that farts glitter. And I happened to mention that when I was live streaming, and they pretended like he was farting glitter.
Yeah. I'll add to that. My kids, we haven't even talked about the Marvel problem that they have, which they can't put Marvel in any of the Disney parks east of the Mississippi. Islands of Adventure has Marvel right now, and they're being very cagey about when they mention it. But they've got Spider-Man and Green Goblin, and my 3-year-old was ecstatic to see Spider-Man. And the guy who said it, he played it really cool because he's not allowed to say Spidey and his amazing friends. He is allowed to say Spider-Man and his amazing friends, which was before that deal. Also, the Green Goblin, which is supposed to be kind of a scary character, he was so sweet and kind, and he let my 3-year-old hold the goblin bomb, the pumpkin bomb.
Well, that's how you trick Peter Parker too. Be careful.
But Jonas, you've just described and I think accurately so, you had a Disney experience from the 1990s at Universal.
Absolutely. And let me say, they've got I'm not over here ogling this woman, but they've had the beautiful version of Storm. That whenever Disney gets around to it, she's going to have that punk hairstyle.
Oh yeah, you're going to get the
third wave Storm that I'm sure we're all going to get. It was so much fun to just this timeless Marvel as opposed to the Marvel of today. It was beautiful and wonderful. And there was this thrill ride. Hey, are you going to be brave enough to go on the Incredible Hulk? It was so wonderful being there in that park at that time with my kids, their eyes wide open, looking at this pure thing. And we don't, comics can get pretty dark at times, but this specific moment, it is a very Disney experience over here at Islands of Adventure.
And you get Stan Lee in the Spider-Man ride. It's Stan Lee.
Yes, at the end. And when you walk into the Spider-Man, attraction, you walk into the foyer of the Daily Bugle.
Yes.
The comic panels come to life there, right?
I will say my only complaint about that land, the churros were hot garbage. I don't know if I got a bad batch or what. I bit into that thing and it was stale and kind of stabbed me a little bit.
Well, churros aside, Jonas, what you've just described is something everybody wishes still existed at Disney. And the thing that bothers me the most, and I need to solicit everybody else's opinion here, is that there used to be a slew of perks that were available to every guest, especially on-property guests, that went to Disney World. How many of those exist today?
Well, let's run through a few. You ready? Magic Express, no longer there. The extra magic hours, morning and evening. Usually parks had, every day there was a park that had an early morning and an after hours one. That's essentially gone now. Everybody got fast passes. The hours at the parks were far more than they are today. So in the summers, we're talking about Magic Kingdom was regularly open until midnight, 1 in the morning.
3 a.m.
Yes, I have in my studio right behind me. I have a paper fast pass for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad for 4 in the morning that I have kept for years and years. None of that is available anymore.
Don't make me go to the Fast Pass box. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, we got an EFAP series we haven't finished.
So we've talked about, Epcot, Magic Kingdom, Universal Studios. I want to say that Animal Kingdom, I think, largely still holds together the best of any of the parks.
I think it's the only.
Agreed.
I think it's the only one, Pro.
Yeah, and Hollywood Studios is just weird. It's weird at this point.
It doesn't have an identity. It was going to have an identity. It was literally the whole back part of that park was going to be Pixar, and they elected not to do that.
Well, it's like a kaleidoscope of decent ideas was broken on the ground and just scattered. And here's the park.
Brilliant.
That's what we've got
for the most part. But I totally agree with you about Animal Kingdom. Every time I go, that park is definitely full of people, and it's the last park that truly feels like Disney. Everything from the experiences to the sight lines to the
I fear that if we keep talking, They'll realize how they could ruin it if we keep going.
But
They're
it
like,
was-
we haven't yet destroyed that park, eh?
But Lorena, agree with me or no? It was the last great idea that they had. Was Animal Kingdom.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely.
Because you literally, and by the way, I'm very blessed to be able to do this regularly. You can actually stay on your own savannah. Like you don't have to leave this environment of these amazing animals. They are in your backyard, so to speak, because you can look out of your balcony.
Oh, I was confused for a moment. I thought we were in Animal Kingdom Park, and you switched to Animal Kingdom Lodge. And I was like, wait a minute. Because you're on Savannah, what have I been missing out on here at the park?
No. But because they're because as you know, they're connected. They share the same spaces. They oftentimes they'll share the same animals, and you literally don't have it. You'd seem connected to that park because of the hotel that is there. Again. Part of a brilliant idea. And you know what they rewarded the person who came up with all of that with?
A pink slip.
Yeah.
They got rid of
How about that? Well, I think that's a good place to end this for today. But I definitely feel as though there is more conversation to be had. I think the four of us need to get together and do this again. There's so much more to be said about all of this. And folks, here's the deal. We would not know all of this information about the parks and the history of the parks if we did not care about them. Disney World, in my opinion, has massive value. And I want that value to be realized. I want generations of little kids to see the castle and have the same kinds of experiences that I had, that family members I have been around have had. I want that to continue. I think that Walt's dream is worthwhile. And I hate that thousands of bad decisions have led us to the point now where we're sitting here on a round table discussing how poorly Disney World is functioning and other Disney parks and how good Universal Studios is. I'm happy for Universal. I'm excited about Epic Universe. I can't wait for Mario, but I want Mickey to be okay. And I know that some of you want to see the Disney company go down in flames, and fair enough. They've made some big time mistakes. But at the same time, the parks have been a place of magic and wonder and joy for so many. And it just takes a visionary to come back in and fix this. And they need to, because we're in a crisis situation with these parks. Yeah. Remember what we talked about with the movies. We said for years, this is not going to go well. Stop. And the mainstream media, the corporate media all said, small minority, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Most people love this. Okay. Now we're past the point of crisis with the movies. Now we're talking about the parks, and we're saying the same thing. Folks, we don't want to be here in 4 years saying, well, the parks don't have any attendance and they're downgrading stuff. And now they're moving some of these parks to only being open, 3/4 of the hours they were at one time, and cast members are getting laid off. And we don't want to do those stories. We don't have to do those stories. We need Disney to listen to these videos and fix it. That's what we need. All right, let's go around the table real quick. Tell us where we can find you on this great, big, beautiful web. Culture, where are you?
Well, I'm Culture Casino. I'm the easiest one here. You can just go here. Find me everywhere. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, I don't know, Getter, Twitter, all of the things. Go to all the things. Look for that. You'll be good. Thank you.
You're also on X.
This is true. Whatever that is. I don't even know. I still have this down here. It says twit, because I honestly feel like I'm a twit.
Well, now instead of asking somebody to tweet something to you, do you say X me something? I don't know. I don't get it. Lorena, where can we find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me, I guess X marks the spot instead of Twitter. Now it's X. You can follow me over there for my hot takes. Not only my hot takes, but also things that are time sensitive with respect to the theme parks, like Universal opening up their reservations for the pass holder event that promptly got quote unquote sold out.
Ooh.
So things like that. And of course, you could find me on YouTube for various videos and live streams about pop culture, sci-fi analysis, and theme park live streams. And I do it with a lot of spice, salt, but I always keep it real in the end.
Well said. Jonas, where are you?
You can find me here on this channel on Thursdays from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Pro Show. I'm an investigative reporter for that park place. I have a channel where I like to go through all the woke things that have been put into content, so we can talk about that aspect of the Disney company sometime. Or you can find me on Twitter at Jonas J. Campbell. You know, there is a lot that we didn't cover in this video. We didn't even begin to talk about Star Wars versus Harry Potter or anything like that. And I think if people want a part 2, it would be very easy to get another hour of detailed discussion and still not cover it all.
And folks, that is up to you. If you are still watching this video, which you must be since you're hearing the words coming out of my mouth through your speaker, well, click that like button, share, subscribe, and stick it to the algorithms by clicking it. It's the notification bell. You can also help YouTube know this is a really important long format video talking about Disney by dropping a comment down below. The conversation here has come to a close, but folks, we need to know your thoughts, so drop one down below. And yes, this is the first time we've done a long format video in a while. We think it's worthwhile. We love the parks. We want them to be okay. So folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.